Here we go, channeling his inner Fanny Craddock.
Make sure the top pasta sheet overhangs a little, yet still gets sauce and cheese. Oh, it's crispy magic.
I do work in a cafe, Brian. It's just a sympathy lasagna for a grieving widow. It's not a cookery competition.
Right, sorry.
Everything poor Toyah's been through. I mean, I know she was a bit dodgy with the Alfie thing, but being in a horrible accident and then getting arrested for causing it.
It beggars belief.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
Hello and welcome to episode 209 of the Talk of the Street, an unofficial Coronation Street catch-up podcast that has calculated that approximately 83% of this week's scenes were people who should be Billy not being Billy and explaining why Billy wasn't there. I'm Gavin, or Billy.
And I don't even think Running Up That Hill is Kate Bush's best song.
It's the best of her more recent output, I think.
It's her most mainstream song, I think.
Oh, I don't think it's mainstream at all.
Well, compared to Kate Bush's other music...
Yeah, I would say that more people like Wuthering Heights and Babushka and stuff.
Yeah, they like it, but Wuthering Heights is not like a mainstream pop song like Running Up That Hill.
Running Up the Hill is either.
It's more than Wuthering Heights is. Yeah, because
I'm not
Wuthering
sure-
Heights,
not
she
sure I
does kind of
agree.
the weirder voice that she does sometimes.
That's the younger voice.
Yes. Yeah.
Anyway, why are we talking about this?
Oh, because apparently Gen Z is discovering Kate Bush thanks to Stranger Things, using Running Up That Hill.
Oh. I always enjoyed the placebo version of that song.
Yeah, apparently that's how...
I enjoyed the placebo version of that song.
Apparently that's how us Gen Xers discovered Kate Bush, although I don't think that's true either.
That's not true either. I knew the song the first time it came out. It was the theme tune to a kids' TV show when I was growing up.
In the UK.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know, actually. I can't remember the name of the show. Now, if only there was a way we could find out. Stall for time, Helen.
If only there was a way. If only there was a way. I'm also going camping tomorrow. First camping trip of the year.
That kind of camping,
Probably the last camping trip of the year as well, because you don't camp. You're camp enough. Ho ho.
That's right.
In your pastel blue and pink shirt.
I'm quite metrosexual at the moment.
Yes. I love that shirt I do, though. It looks nice. Especially when you push it up on your forearms like that. It's so hot.
Running Scared is the name of the show. It was a 6-part British television children's drama series produced by the BBC in 1986.
Wow.
That's what introduced me to that song.
I was 10. And I don't think that jumped the pond to us. Running Scared.
No, that's the only thing I remember about it.
Yeah. Anyway, Kate Bush. She's more than just that one song.
Yeah, she's like 6 or 7 songs. How have you been this week?
Well, it started off traumatic, but then it got good yesterday. Because yesterday, you and I went to Elderly Instruments in beautiful Old Town Lansing, Michigan.
Guitar shopping.
Well, yeah.
I was going guitar shopping.
You were going guitar shopping. I was thinking of maybe taking up the ukulele.
As you do.
As one does. Yes. Because there are actually, for whatever reason, there are a lot of like ukulele groups that do lessons near us. Mm-hmm. So, and also my fingers are very short. I used to play guitar and it was always very difficult for me to do the chords because my fingers are so toty, you know, even as a child. So... Well, especially as a child, I guess one would say.
Yeah. They haven't shrunk since you were born.
No. So, you know, while you were sizing up the acoustics, mm-hmm. I wandered over to the ukulele/mandolin side of the shop.
A side of the shop that I have never been to in the half dozen times that I've been to that store.
Yes. So it starts with the ukuleles, and I was looking at the ukuleles, and I picked a few up, and I was strumming on a few of them, and nothing really felt right, you know?
It's got to feel right.
Right. It's got to feel right. So, and then I wandered through the mandolins, and then there was another room, and there was this gorgeous Celtic harp there. There were some auto harps. There were the slide guitars.
Steel guitars.
Yeah.
Steel pedal guitars.
Yes. Where it's on like a little table and you just put the slide on. And there's a guy who plays that at my mother's church in Connecticut. And that's like our favorite thing about the church service is when the slide guitar guy
He's good on that guitar.
is good. And some other things. And then I looked up and there it was. There were 3 cigar box guitars there, 4 strings. And there were 2 brown ones. And then there was this white one. And it had the word Connecticut on it.
It did. It still does.
Yes.
We haven't painted over it yet.
No, not yet. We never will. And I was attracted to it. I was drawn to it.
It's a beautiful ornament.
It was a mystical thing, and this has happened to me in the past with certain things. You come across something and it feels like it was meant for you.
Yep.
This felt like it was meant for me. And so I brought you round to this room you'd never been in before.
Which is my cue to run, and I'd never learn.
And there were also violins there, and we were talking about the violins, and
Can't
you were
get a
saying
cheap violin. There's no such thing as a cheap violin.
And then I showed it to you, and you said, "Do you want it?"
Oh yeah.
And I was like, "I really do, but I don't know how to play it. But I really want it." And I picked it up again, and I'm cradling it in my arms, and you're like, "Yeah, we'll get it." It was only $300.
It made me feel better for spending $700 on my guitar.
$650. You talked the guy down.
Oh, I got him down.
You got a deal, and you got a case with yours. So yeah, it made the horrible dentist appointment all the better.
There we go.
Yeah, and I've ordered some books for it, so I can start teaching myself.
Shall we preamble, my dear?
And then we got shawarma.
That's not important. Shall we preamble, my dear?
Yes, please.
Give us some of that elderly corrie news.
James Carroll, former actor on Brookside and Corrie, has died abruptly. He did have pneumonia in 2020, so there's kind of speculation, but it seems like it just happened, and everyone was kind of surprised. He is the gentleman who played Mary's sword-fighting friend, Colin. So no more scenes with Colin.
Did we have many scenes with Colin?
I think we had a few.
Couple,
but
maybe.
They were delightful. He was also a member of a ska band, so that he was a very well-rounded individual and will be missed by friends and family.
Oh, that's a wee shame.
Yes. Millie Gibson shared on Insta the sweet framed picture that Charlie DeMello gifted her, as well as a card with a ferret on it. Class.
A Trim Up North ferret?
Maybe. Yeah, I forgot about David's ferret.
Vin Weasel.
Yes, who is a weasel, not a ferret. Although I guess ferrets are a form of weasel?
I don't know, David Attenborough. You'll need to tell me.
Still, it was really cute and everything, and just especially since in the show, much is made of a picture of Kelly and Imran.
Oh, that's sweet.
Which we will get to.
Oof.
So it was sweet to see that picture. Corrie News was kind of thin on the ground this week.
I would never have guessed.
And finally, Jack James Ryan was on Granada Reports yesterday to talk about Cobble's Goss, but also to raise awareness on testicular cancer, as he is a teenage cancer survivor.
Yeah, I read this, first of all, a couple of weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago, and it was like shocking. I just thought he was raising awareness for it generally. I didn't realise that
Or maybe had an uncle with it or something, yeah.
That's shocking at such an early age.
Yeah.
Good for him, though, because that sort of thing at that age could be quite stigmatising, I guess. And
right,
maybe,
an ox.
Right. But,
Yeah.
But good. He just seems like that kind of guy, though, that just nothing knocks him out of his stride. And
Yeah. He just seems really lovely.
doesn't he though?
I'm glad the
Doesn't he,
show.
though?
I'm glad the show has kept him around because he's a delightful.
Yeah, and
addition.
rehabilitated. I thought he was a good villain, but he's even better as a kind of a little bit of a lovable rogue.
Yes.
Him and Mary
A rake, one
together,
would say.
the two of them together.
And that's Corrie News.
Well, that means that now it's time for World Podcast for Coffee then.
I'm not drinking coffee. Are you drinking coffee?
No, I'm on the Canada Dry Sugar Free.
Oh.
Because we're recording this one at night again because
Yes.
you're
Camping in
heading
the
off
morning.
camping, which we've spoke about
Yes. Briefly,
at length.
I'm drinking iced tea out of my Lieutenant Uhura Star Trek glass.
Oh, where did these come from? We don't have enough glasses. We
I've had this
need,
since
we need to get rid of some of these glasses.
well, you've broken two.
I haven't broken any.
That green one, broke. You didn't break it. I broke one of the bumpy ones. I'm sure this is all very fascinating
so we've gone
to
from
people.
I've broken two to I've broken none and you've broken one. Good. Anyway, we're buying our own copies this week, which is fine.
Which
It's
is fine. It's fine.
absolutely fine, Helen.
Fine. It's fine.
But if you think that this nonsense is worth anything more than just your time and effort to listen to, then you can buy us a coffee bag heading to ko-fi.com. That's ko-fi.com/the talk of the street. And Helen and I will be very appreciative, won't we, Helen?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. And now YouTubes. I'll be appreciative. I'll be appreciative enough for both of us. Because I'm nice that way.
Are you?
Although I've been kind of lazy when it came to the YouTubes, though.
Uh-oh.
There is no... I like to do a little special extra thing every week that tends to get released on a Tuesday.
Right.
I didn't get around to it this week. It's
Oh.
just too many things to do. But I'm working on a larger project that's going to be realised in the next couple of weeks or so.
Oh, no.
That's been requested by viewers. So anyway, I'll be doing that. There's the regular stuff. There's last week's podcast. There's last night's Corrie in under 4 minutes. I didn't do the 3 favourite clips again because, again, I've been a little bit too busy. But anyway,
That's fine.
if any of that tickles your fancy, you can head over to youtube.com/the Talk of the Street podcast, smash that subscribe button, and give a little tickle to that notification bell. And now this.
Welcome.
Welcome to Last Year Tonight with me, John Oliver. Just enough time to quickly talk about the physical act of love.
That has something to do with Dev, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. This was Dev thinking that Bernie was becoming bitches be crazy after a wild night under the sheets. The physical act of love.
It's the way that you said it made it obvious that it was Dev.
There we go.
Yeah.
I was Gavin and you were sunburnt. I don't remember that.
Last year?
Yeah,
I was sunburnt?
This time last year even.
Oh, well.
This time last year, Tyrone wore his MSU shirt for the first time.
Woo!
Oh, that's right. You were out doing were you doing a yard sale or something?
Was that this weekend? Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was.
Again,
When
was this time
and
last
then there
year.
was the Pride event in town. We had no Pride event this year. I'm very sad.
I was worried that maybe we should have sent him a Eaton Rapids t-shirt or a Timbot 4000 t-shirt. Maybe we'll get round to that. We were working out how to record this while we were away in Tennessee. Luckily, the show was still doing its 3 times 30 minutes, which made it a little bit easier. I remembered it when it was just like half an hour.
Yeah, that was nice.
Yeah.
And we went to Tennessee. I loved that.
Peter has gone AWOL as news comes through that another liver has been found for him, and Kirk's brother, Kiefer, has an hour to find him and get him to hospital. The biggest problem with Johnny and Jenny's relationship hitting the skids is that we have to go through the rigmarole of someone else taking over the Rovers, but Daisy's charm offensive should put paid to that. Bernie enacting revenge and Evelyn goes off in a direction that no one could have predicted and results in Dev's staircase carpet taking a pounding. Parents of the year, Tyrone and Fizz decide that the best thing for the girls is for them to argue, point score, and lawyer up against each other. Gemma worries if she can still talk with her mouth full while using sign language. Daniel has a grammar correcting pen. Addy will never forget his basketball gear again. And Summer needs an early night. Our moment of the week was Peter and Shona sharing
Because
a
she was
connection.
studying for her exams to get into Oxford this time last year.
It's been going on for a year. Do you know, I thought it just felt like it's been going on for a year.
Yeah, that's probably more accurate.
And the boring moment of the week was Chesney logging into email.
Where is Chesney? And Gemma?
Shush you.
Have the quads eaten them?
And that was Coronation Street and the talk of the street. This time last year. Shall we dive in, my dear?
Yes, please.
Our first storyline this evening, is I know what you did last summer.
Oh, well done.
Thank you.
Well done.
It's all downhill from here. On Monday, Asha drops in to see Summer, who is waiting to hear if the exam board are going to let her take the final exam. There seems to be some confusion because she can only appeal if she's unable to take the exam or something. None of this makes a huge amount of sense to me, but the bottom line is that Summer has a dilemma about agreeing to take a final exam.
Right, yeah, because she says, well, I can take it now, so I'm able to take it. And so I don't feel right appealing because I'm fine now. And it's like, you just got out of hospital.
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
It's another grand meeting of Summer Spellman's three dads, aka the Council of Exes, but Billy can't make it because of the impending release of Religion 2.0, and he's got some bugs to iron out. So instead we have Todd and Paul alone in Billy's house discussing what to do with Summer. Paul,
always makes me think of Paul Reiser and that other guy in My Two Dads.
Greg Evigan.
What was that again?
Greg Evigan, begin again.
Gesundheit.
He was my favourite one.
Paul Reiser was my favourite one.
Greg Evigan in his beard. Paul mentions that Summer is still thinking of doing that confusing exam thing and she's getting better, but it feels too soon. Todd's mind is on a party to celebrate her finishing.
But not like that.
Meanwhile, Summer is with Aaron. Aaron seems to be quite shy to spend any money on tram fares or chips. He's a man after my own heart.
Yeah. I don't think so. Stop selling yourself short. You bought your wife a $300 cigar box guitar this week.
It was more a Scots be miserly kind of joke that I was making.
I know. But
Summer gets home and is surprised to see Paul and saw Todd leaving, and so realises that they've been chin-wagging about her. Let's hope. Paul thinks it's too soon for the exam, but admits that Todd thinks differently, and all three will be proud of her no matter what. No matter what? No matter what.
No matter what.
Addy goes round to see Summer and surprises her with colour-coded revision cards for her upcoming exam. That was quite funny. He produces the cards and he obviously bums them up because he's really, really proud of them.
Yeah, as he should be.
And when she sees that they're colour-coded, she's like, ooh, they're colour-coded.
Yes, but the subtitles had the exclamation point in parentheses, which indicates that she was being sarcastic.
I don't think she was being sarcastic. She didn't look sarcastic. She looked genuinely impressed that they were colour-coded, which is something that she would be impressed about.
She seemed a little flirty as well, which...
Oh, did you think?
Sends mixed messages a little bit there, doesn't it?
I have tons of complaints about Summer, but not about that. He's even got a mnemonic for tackling English lit questions, and he lets Summer keep the cards to help her. He says, in fact, that he would be very offended if she didn't take the cards.
Correct.
So Mary finds Summer in the community garden and chats to her about cartoon chickens. Summer finds an opportunity to talk about her final exam tomorrow, and Mary remembers Summer's robot and thinks everyone is so very proud of her. Todd is even planning a party. A what? Asks Summer. A party! Shouts Mary. Asha goes back round to see Summer again and close off the circle of this storyline for today, and Summer has decided that she's going to do the exam tomorrow anyway, and this time she isn't going to shit herself, or whatever it was that happened the last time. On Wednesday, Summer is trying to study with Addie's cards, but she's shy and keeps forgetting stuff. She tells Ted to bolt. He's not her dad.
Ted?
He doesn't even live here anymore.
Ted?
Todd.
He said Ted.
I think you're just not paying attention.
I am paying attention. This is why you should be happy when I'm not paying attention to
Addie
you.
is ready to head off to his final exam, but not before a tearful Dev says how proud he is of him and knows how he'll do it splendidly and all the very best of luck.
Blah. Summer is ridiculous, by the way, with Todd. Like, she's forgetting one theme of atonement. Again, it's a great book. I'm surprised they're teaching it in a school, though.
It's an all right book.
I liked it. I liked it better than the movie.
Oh, yeah, sure.
But, you know, the way she's like, oh, she can't remember the last thing, which was grief, which is weird that she couldn't...
Guilt.
Or guilt, that's right. And so Todd tells her, and she's like, no, don't tell me. I'm supposed to know these. Well, this is how you know them, Summer, by being told the one that you're forgetting.
I think her point is, why are you in this house?
He seems to have a key. They all have a key. Paul
Yep.
has a key.
Yep. Why? And why are they all friends again? Every time this comes up, I'm not forgetting about this.
Nobody seems to be forgetting that.
None of them
Everybody
were
seems
speaking to each other
indignant.
because Paul was so pissed off that Billy took
Todd's side.
or believed Todd, and Billy is obviously furious with Todd for the whole deception thing, and Summer getting knocked down by Cathy,
Right.
or whoever.
But never really forgave Paul either.
No, none of them were.
It
on
seems
good
like there's this tacit bearing of the proverbial hatchet.
We need to see it.
Because yes, but it seems like they're doing it for Summer. You know, they're not hanging out as friends, but they do get together to talk about Summer because they're her three dads. But yes, we should see. I guess we kind of saw that when Billy was working at Roy's or Nina's Rolls, technically.
Yes.
And he was like, I've called this meeting of my three dads.
The Council of the Exes.
The Council of the Exes. So they're still firmly exes. And there were a few times that like Paul and Todd this week were kind of needling one another still. So they're not pals. They don't go, out for a pint together.
But it seems that Billy has asked Todd to keep an eye on Summer, and therefore Todd is there first thing in the morning.
Well, because that's one of her dads. So it's like...
You get the impression, or one gets the impression, that when we see Todd here, when we see Paul there, it feels like it's meant to be Billy.
They're
and it's not
co-parenting. What was wrong with Brocklebank that week that he was just kind of disappeared?
I've no idea. This is kind of what we're saying.
Right, because it was until Friday. There's this big gaping Billy-sized hole,
Right, and
in
people
the whole thing.
explaining where Billy is.
Right, and why he's not there. He's actually doing church work for once.
Oh, there was a break-in. Or
There's a break into the church.
Billy's been trying to sell the pews again.
Which just reminded me of that time that there was a guy living underneath the stairs in our church.
Oh, that's a cheery segue. In the exam, suppose Genius Summer is struggling with the questions. She smuggled the revision cards in with her little insulin pack. The invigilator sees her fanning around with the cards and asks if she's okay, and she lies about her blood sugars, and so they go outside. So outside, Summer has to pretend to prepare her insulin kit, but then she notices that the colourful revision cards, they're not in her case anymore.
Right.
And that's because she's such a fucking idiot that she dropped them on the floor in the exam right by Addie's desk.
Okay, all right. If she was holding that bag upside down so that the cards fell out, the cards which are thin, the cards which are not very heavy, wouldn't the heavy things like her diabetes stuff fall out first?
That's not how gravity works, Helen.
And also, when she walks by and we watch her walk by Addie, we're there with her as she's walking out of the room. Wouldn't we hear stuff fall out of that pouch if she was holding it upside down? Because there's a lot of cards. You'd think somebody would have heard them fall on the floor.
Or wouldn't somebody notice this rainbow pouring out of her pencil case or whatever it is?
Yeah.
And it lands, it's at his feet.
This whole thing is so convoluted and ridiculous. You know what? I'd much rather have Daniel gaslighting someone
Well,
than this ridiculous storyline.
well, wouldn't we all? But anyway, she drops the cards right at Addie's desk, where they're discovered by the second invigilator, who recognised the handwriting
who looks like Catherine Tate a wee bit.
and throws Addie out. Summer overhears a commotion from the supposed cheat and is about to confess until the invigilator drags Addie off to see Crawshaw, and so she slinks back into the exam, passing Addie's empty seat.
Now, these cards are on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
Addie doesn't have them on his desk. He's not looking at them. They're on the floor. How could somebody cheat by throwing cards on the floor in the middle of the
I think
aisle?
the assumption is that they fell.
Wouldn't he have noticed that and been surreptitiously, leaning his foot over to scoot them out of the way so that no one would
maybe
see
she
them?
noticed them too soon for that to happen.
This whole thing is...
That's not the problem with this. The problem with this we've already covered.
Well, the whole problem with this is everything about this.
So later, on the way out of the exam, she walks by Crawshaw's office and hears her tearing a strip off of Addie, and she just keeps on walking.
Because she's a bitch.
Back home, Todd wants to know how the exam went, but Summer can't chat because she has to speak with Addie. So she gets Addie off the bus and confesses that she was cheating with his cards, and she'll speak to Crawshaw tomorrow, but Addie tells her not to. They can't prove nothing, and this will fuck Summer's Oxford chances once and for all if she's done for cheating. Addie, though, he doesn't look like he gives a shit one way or the other, so Summer decides not to do the right thing.
Yeah, and he does this whole thing that Mary did about how you're the best of us. You represent the street. You're the one who will do great and mighty things. You know what you never, ever, ever say to a kid, especially a kid in who's been recognized as being gifted? You never say that shit to one of those kids, because then they turn out in their 40s to be podcasting about a soap opera. That's what's going to happen to Summer in 30 years' time. She's going to be podcasting about Coronation Street. Probably it'll still be on the air.
Yikes. And I think I say that on behalf of all our listeners. Yikes, though, Helen. Seriously. I presume they're talking about you. Back at Dev's, he's already found out from Mrs. Crawshaw, and he's furious with Addie that he might get excluded for this. And Dev's point's right. It's like, you don't think that these exams are important, but they are important. They are important, Addie. Todd comes in later to get some messages, and Addie checks to make sure that Summer is okay after the exam stuff. Dev overhears this and reckons there's something suspicious going on, and he tells Todd about Addie cheating, and Todd says Summer never mentioned it, which makes Dev even more suspicious.
Yes.
So he goes round to see Summer, but finds Todd instead, because of course Todd's in Billy's flat.
Of course.
Todd wants to know what it's about, and Dev says he wants to know what she knows about the cheating incident. Todd gets dead defensive, but Dev says on his way out, all I'm doing is trying to get to the truth here.
Yes.
Later, Summer gets
He
home.
can't handle the truth.
And Todd gently quizzes her about his run-in with Dev and the exam, and asks her if she knows anything about Addie's cheating. Summer thinks for a moment, then denies all knowledge.
Because she's a bitch.
And at this point, Summer was far more mature years ago when she was Summer 1.0.
Right, yeah. Seriously. What have they done to this child?
Now, we got an email from Connecticut Trisha at this point in the storyline. And she makes an interesting point. I feel this point was one that she made as she was travelling from one Dunkin' Donuts to another. And it was to say that as a person of colour, as Connecticut Trisha is, that there is something kind of blind about Summer, nice little white girl,
Yeah.
allowing Addie
Brown boy.
to take the blame for her.
Yeah.
When the kind of the significance of that and the consequences of that are probably harsher for Addie than they would be
Right.
for her, which I thought was an interesting point.
Well-
and I also think it's a point that the show hasn't considered in the slightest.
No. And honestly, thank you, Trisha, for that, because honestly, it wasn't something I was thinking of either. And more shame me, because usually I'm,
all over that shit.
a little bit better at noticing this kind of thing. But yeah, that's an excellent point. And it kind of, the fact that woman just automatically assumed, because those cards were right there. And she couldn't have known when she picked the cards up that it was Addie's handwriting.
No, that's why she looked at it first and she put the card down and saw that the handwriting was the same and then said.
Right.
She did the right thing. I don't think she just assumed. She kind of got
Well,
some proof about it before.
Addie, there's another kid on the other side there that was as equally close to those cards on the floor
Oh, no,
as
yeah,
Addie.
That's a reach. They're
really.
at Addie's feet.
Yeah. But, still, the assumption that he's cheating.
Well, she has some proof because the handwriting's the same.
Meh. Anyway, the fact that she's very quick to just And everybody is kind of, and even after all of this, which we will get to, the way Crawshaw reacts when the truth is revealed compared to Crawshaw tearing a strip off of Addie is a little revealing.
Yeah, I think maybe because Summer's deemed to be kind of fragile and stuff, maybe that explains it. But I think Trisha's point as well was, why isn't Summer, who is supposedly intelligent enough to think that this is a really bad thing to do?
Right.
Given the connotations of it.
Right.
From an ethnicity point of view.
Yes. Yeah.
Anyway.
And why is the show not thinking about that?
Well, it's the show, right?
Right, yeah.
So on Friday, Billy's home and pacing on the floor. On the floor?
Yes. Well, his feet are on the floor.
He's there. And he's on the phone. I think he's on the phone to the school. And it turns out that Dev has said, to hell with this, and is going to Crawshaw anyway.
Yes.
There's a meeting arranged for 1 p.m. and Summer doesn't want Billy to be there, which is fine because religion is blown up right now and Billy is just swamped. At the store, Addie's sticking by his story, and now he doesn't want Dev to be at the school either. Dev reckons that he's covering for Summer because he's in love with her, but privately and later he learns from Asha that Summer has a new boyfriend.
Uh-oh.
Addie meets up with Summer at the bus stop. She's having liar's regret, but Addie thinks it's too late to change their mind now or they'll both get into trouble. Dev appears from round the corner and shouts that Summer is seeing someone else and shouts at Summer for not telling Addie about it. So two of them scurry off quickly and head to school. At the school, Summer can't explain why she didn't tell him about Aaron. She says she doesn't deserve a friend like him and Dev is right to hate her.
She's right.
Addie tells her to have a fucking word with herself. This self-hate shite is getting on everyone's tits.
Seriously.
Or maybe it was me who said that. Addie has spoken with Crawshaw. Now it's Summer's turn and she decides to tell the truth. She's not as smart as everyone says she is. She's a cheating scumbag and she's a terrible friend. Or maybe it was me who said that too.
Mm-hmm.
She thought that everything would get better once the exams were done, she says. Crawshaw is unimpressed. Both of them are taking the blame for bringing the cards into the exam. Addie refuses to throw his friend under the bus, so Crawshaw threatens to cut the baby in half, and then we'll see what happens. Or both of them will be disqualified from the exam.
Yes.
It turns
That
out
is the baby we are splitting, to be clear.
It turns out that Addie does seem to be a little bit pissed off about this new boyfriend after all. Summer explains that Addie's a good friend who still fancies her, tickets on herself much, and saying all this out loud has made her feel better. She can't run away from this anymore. She admits to cheating again, and she hurriedly leaves to go home and tell Billy, getting a call from Todd about the party that's happening at the speed dial right now.
Right, which is basically some gold balloons and Todd and Paul. Where's Mary? I thought Mary was supposed to be there.
Where's Amy? Where's our pals?
Yeah, where's Asha? Asha's probably pissed at her with the way she treated her brother.
Yeah, rightfully
I
so.
would not blame her.
So Summer finally makes it to the speed dial where Paul and Todd have brought balloons. Happy end of your exams, they shout. Summer tells them the truth and Todd goes a little bit rag here. Being a cheat is shitty enough, but letting Addie take the blame, that's even worse. And Summer rushes off, upset, which allows Paul to feel superior for a bit.
Well, he is superior in every way.
And that brings us on to this week's Hard Debate.
I voted just so that I got time.
I kind of mistimed this one
Yeah,
because I wanted I tend to let it run
like for a day.
or up until we're about to record, and I
Right.
was assuming we'd be recording tomorrow morning. So this is a vote that's in progress. Summer dashed out a speed dial on Friday's episode, clearly very upset. So where should Todd have arranged the surprise exam party celebrations instead?
I picked the tattoo parlor.
Wait until I read the fucking options.
Oh, fine.
How about the bistro? Or how about tattoo'll do nicely? I still don't know what that's supposed to mean. Is it a pun?
Instead of that'll do nicely.
Tattoo'll do nicely?
Yeah,
It should be tat'll do nicely.
but it's not a tattle shop. It's a tattoo shop.
But it's tat, apostrophe, LL. Tattle as in that'll.
Look, the show's not great at
Tattoo'll do
creating.
nicely? Tattoo'll? That's awful.
As we will see in another storyline,
Anyway.
the show's not great about creating branding. So
The co-op sandwich aisle, or wherever Billy was. And the voting was thus. The bistro was 12%. Tattoo'll do nicely, 13.3%.
woohoo!
Co-op sandwich aisle, 33.3%. But the winner was wherever Billy was, 41.3%. Where was he at this point? Was somebody dying? I think somebody might have been dying. She runs down the Ginnell and Addie finds her. She's thought of an excuse for not telling them about Aaron, but instead of telling them what that excuse is, she turns the conversation round to her unforgivable cheating and how everyone is entitled to hate her. So we never get to hear that excuse.
Yes.
Next, Aaron turns up in the Ginnell and Addie takes his leave.
Ox.
Oh, very ox. When he's gone, Summer decides that she doesn't want to go out with Aaron now after all. It's over, she says. What's over? He says. Us, she says. Oh, he says. This is what you get when you make me buy your chips, she says.
She does. Is she going to have to find a guy named Aardvark next? She does like those double A's.
Aardvark comes before Aaron.
Yeah, but Aaron and Addie both start with a double A.
Yeah.
So I was just thinking of another word that has a double A.
That would be Aardvark.
Yes.
Any more?
That's the joke.
Any more?
No.
Aardwolf. That's the thing. And, it's the first time
Keep it that in your back pocket, haven't you?
I think that's the first time I've said Aardwolf out loud. And we're recording it. For posterity. Well, actually, the noise that the Aardwolf makes.
This isn't that funny.
It's not funny in the
Why
slightest.
am I laughing?
In the flat, Paul is still enjoying being superior, pointing out how messed up Summer has been lately. Todd does what Todd does best, and he blames everyone else.
Yes.
Paul says Summer needs Billy. So Summer heads home and bumps into Billy outside. She doesn't want him to be nice to her. Paul and Todd appear too, so now we know that none of them are pretending to be Billy. Summer has had a good long think to herself, and she's made a decision. She doesn't want to go to university anymore. You've got to be fucking
kidding me,
says
everyone.
And that's as far as we get with that this week.
What did she say she wants to do instead of going to university?
She didn't.
She's going to go
She
like
just
on a
left it at that.
mission trip or something around the
She's
world.
going to go on a yurts.
She's going to take over Roy's position in darkest Peru with Paddington.
She's going to end up working in the knicker factory, isn't she?
God, I hope not.
And sales, maybe.
Oh, they always need another salesperson over there.
I said on Twitter, I've been saying this for a while, but this week I said on Twitter that Alfie will get to Oxford before Summer does.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel somewhat vindicated with that opinion.
Yes.
Here is where they're going wrong with this.
There's only one?
I think it comes out of all this. Is that they keep on forgetting that she has an eating disorder. Because I think it's the eating disorder that's causing all this, all the memory fug and the anxiety and
Right.
stuff. But they don't show us enough of that.
No.
The
they
last time
don't.
this was mentioned, I think, was back when Amy was showing her a picture of a dress that she was going to trick Steve into buying for
Right.
her. And Summer she kind of moved about uncomfortably and maybe pulled
Right.
down her dungarees a little bit.
She made a joke with Aaron about two people with an eating disorder going out for chips.
Yeah, but I don't know if that's enough.
It's not. None of this is enough. They've spread.
What's the important part here? Is the important part that Summer wants to go to Oxford? Is the important
No.
part all the revision that she's doing?
No.
Is the important part the diabetes that she's got?
Kinda.
Is the important part the love triangle that she's
Absolutely
kind of got
not.
with Addie and Aaron?
No.
Is the important thing the eating disorder that she's got? Is the important thing trying to deal with having 3 father figures in her life all trying to have their same influence on her?
Right. She's got 3 dads and poor Alfie has none.
Right. He should maybe borrow one.
Right. Yeah. One of them should just take Alfie over.
So when you say you have a problem with not you, but when one says that they have a problem with the Summer storyline, it's like, which part of it?
Right. Yeah,
part
they've
in
spread it
particular
far too thin. And they've made her so annoying
And
that
whiny.
that it's hard to sympathize with what she's going through. And I think that is very dangerous to people who actually do have eating disorders with or without the diabetes, because then it's like, people with eating disorders, they just sit around, they complain about their food all the time and how fat they are when they're all really skinny. Well,
But
that's
she's
not
not-
necessarily true.
No, and she's not even really doing that much. She's complaining about everything else.
She was doing that in the beginning, and then she kind of just bottled it up. And this whole, as you and I and like a million people have pointed out, if she's as smart as everyone thinks she is, she should not have to revise this much, and she should not be this worried about exams, because smart people tend to not be worried about exams.
No, and she should be knowing that the way for her to be better and all this is to take her medication when she's supposed to be taking the medication, and she continually doesn't. How many times has she been in the hospital with us?
Right,
Is it 3 times, 4 times?
Because she keeps forgetting to take her medication and check her sugars. And it's like, this is not...
Or she lies about it.
This is not helping anyone. This is not helpful.
I don't think so.
You know, and these storylines are supposed to be helpful, right? They're supposed to be educational for people not going through the stuff like this. And they're supposed to be affirming for people who have been going through things like this. At least that's kind of my point. That's kind of the way that I feel about these storylines when they bring them up and they talk them up and they say we've been talking with people who have this, and they're very hopeful because this aspect of diabetes isn't talked about an awful lot, et cetera, et cetera. And it's just so clouded now. And she's become such an unsympathetic character that it's not any of that stuff.
This is the consequence of throwing so much at her.
Right. Which is what they do. They because before it was Asha that they were throwing everything at. And for a very brief time, it was Amy that they were throwing everything at. You know? And Abby constantly gets far too much thrown at her. You know, this is what they do. And it's frustrating.
And I don't know the reasons for this. Maybe there aren't any reasons for this. Maybe this is just the way that it kind of lands. But it's made to feel all the more unusual by the fact that Billy is never there. And Billy would be there.
Yeah. I mean, there was that whole emotional conversation that they had on the couch where he promised he would always be there and that
he was going to
he
take
was
control
there
of
for
this.
her and he was going to be, you know, and the way that he has been in control is to delegate it to Paul and Todd, two people who can't really get along with one another very well without Billy being there.
No, and who I don't think Billy would call trustworthy, really.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of part of the problem. And
I hope she doesn't go to Oxford. I hope she does put that aside or delays it for a year.
Right.
Until she sorts herself out a bit. But
I don't. I hope she goes.
But I don't,
the sooner the better.
I don't think there's any chance of that happening.
No, of course not. But still, you know, it would give some breathing room to this character and what she's going through for her to go away for a while.
Oh, just let her go out with Addie, for God's sake. Even though Addie's destined for Amy and their little
Jacob.
And their little detective agency thing that they got going.
Right.
But
They still need to get a Great Dane, though, and a van.
there's some time for that. Let's move on. Our next storyline today is Bully for Sean. On Monday, Sean is up and in a great mood because his new fella is coming round later. George and Eileen are keen to get a name from Sean, and Sean tells him it's Frank, but maybe
Frankie?
Frank is more of a Frankie. So
Frankie goes to Hollywood.
turns
even.
up. I don't know if it is Frank or Frankie. Is it Frankie?
It's Frank, but Sean, because he's Sean, calls him Frankie.
Well, then I shall call him Frank. So Frank turns up at
And I
Eileen's,
shall call him Frankenstein.
but she
It's
assumes
a monster.
that he's an ex-convict selling cleaning products door to door. That was funny.
That was funny.
Until Sean sticks his head out the window and tells him, hold on a minute, and Eileen is mortified. Eileen, Sean and Frank are at the Rovers talking about Sean's usual type. Eileen expected someone younger with better dress sense. And either deaf or invisible would also probably help.
And there's some nice banter there, you
That was good
know,
banter.
where even Frankenstein's monster is taking the piss out of Eileen a little bit, even though he's just met her, and she's very gracious about it and everything, and it seems to be going swimmingly.
Frank is at the bar when George comes in, and it turns out the two of them know each other from school. Frank's saying, hello, Georgie Porgy.
Pudding and pie.
Ooh, kiss the girls and made them cry.
Yes, when the boys came out to play.
Oh, Georgie Porgy, he ran away.
Yes.
Closet homosexual. For pride. Back in their booth, Frank reminisces to George about their school days, but it's clear that George isn't looking back quite so fondly. Frank talks about a game where they used to put random shite into a PE teacher's sports bag. This was starting to get a little bit creepy here, isn't it? A PE teacher?
With a big bag?
Because we all know PE teachers, right?
I don't know. Mine was a lesbian.
And remembers George putting the class skeleton into his bag.
Yes, because he must be good at that because his family is so good at manipulating corpses.
Right. Frank finds it hilarious, but George is embarrassed by the memory. Back home, Eileen goes on about how nice Frank seems and how it's a small world and everything, but I wouldn't like to paint it. When George doesn't respond positively, she insists that he tells her the truth. So sheepishly, George admits that Frank was a bully. He was a nasty bit of work and it only got worse when word got out that George's dad was an undertaker and he made no end of WWE jokes at his expense. Frank was such a nasty bastard, he forced George to do the skeleton thing and it got so bad that he stopped going to school. Seeing him again today made him feel as scared as he was when he was back at school. And now George is worried that Frank will bully him if he stays over with Sean tonight and sees George's CPAP mask. Eileen tells him to explain how he feels to Frank, but George's path of least resistance is to fuck off home and ignore the problem.
Mm-hmm.
On Wednesday, George goes round to Eileen's and relaxes when he hears that Frank has already left. Eileen tells George not to let it get to him, but George thinks the situation will improve once Sean and Frank split up. Eileen meets up with Frank and the Rovers, and after a bit of a palaver where Frank talks an awful lot, she manages to get Frank to apologise to George about school. Frank always thought that he'd gotten well with George, but agrees to apologise for anything that he did that George found offensive.
And honestly, this feels very accurate because, like, I'm Facebook friends with a lot of the people who used to bully me in school. And, like, you know, when we talk about school and stuff, there are things that I remember that they don't remember because it didn't impact them.
Oh yeah, it was just another day.
In the same way.
Right.
And some of them is like, oh, that it never occurred to me that might hurt your feelings. It's hilarious. It's kind of the other kids who were also bullied by other people who have apologized to me for bullying me, and I'm like, you didn't. You know, you were the closeted gay kid. You were like the best friend I ever had.
Oh, and they thought that they bullied you?
Yeah.
Well, they got that relationship wrong, didn't they? And that was your best friend?
Well, maybe not my best friend.
Good
but
job.
He actually, the one that I'm thinking of, he actually helped me because the bully, the girl bully, who I am not Facebook friends with, and I don't even know where she is in the world, who almost broke my arm once, she stole my Trapper Keeper, and she had used white out to cover my name, you know, and write her name over it. Oh. And he was the one who figured...
perfect crime.
She was like insisting, no, it's not hers because it doesn't have her name on it. And it was this kid who said, wait a second, and like got a damp cloth and wiped the white off, and there was my name. He was like a Sherlock Holmes, and I was Watson. He kind of looked like Sherlock Holmes too because he was tall and skinny. Anyway,
let's face it, a really bad Sherlock Holmes adventure.
Not the best.
The case of the inappropriately used Tipex.
Right, to steal a Trapper Keeper.
It makes me wonder, because I don't think that I bullied anybody, but I wonder if I'm thinking, like, rose-tinted spectacles and all that. The kind of shit that... Because I got up to shit at school. Right. So everyone probably was bullied by someone. I was bullied by somebody, but I don't know if I was a bully to someone else. I guess somebody maybe thinks that they were.
I was so far down the ladder, there was nobody left for me to bully.
Oh.
But that's fine.
Give us your dinner money. Yeah. It's all coming back to me now.
Asshole.
Right. So I heard that before. Don't you worry about that. So, Eileen is great in this situation.
She is.
Because she's just sitting there and she's so tired of his shit already.
Right.
And she's like, no, nobody called me Eileen over. No, just apologise.
Right.
And apologise better.
Right.
And don't tell them that it was me.
Right, yeah. Don't say, I'm sorry that you're, you know.
If you were offended over it.
Right, yeah. Which is never a good look.
On the street, Frank grabs George and apologises for any upset caused now or in the past or in the future and wants to make sure that they're all good. He insists that they all have dinner at the bistro to bury the hatchet. George is confused and doesn't think there is a hatchet, but agrees. So at the bistro, Frank is the perfect host, by which I mean he gets the first round of drinks in. Eileen nods at George. George nods at Eileen. Maybe this will be civilised after all. And so after dinner, Frank goes to pay, and it's been such a nice night, George wants to offer to pay the tip. but not like that. But he hears Frank humming.
Just the tip.
The John Brown's body lies a mouldering in the grave, and he loses his shit, telling Frank that he can stuff his tip up his arse.
Right.
Up his arse, but not like that.
But it's ridiculous because he didn't even know he was there. You know, he was just humming to himself.
But why was he humming it?
Why not?
Because he hummed it every time he saw The Undertaker. So now, after seeing The Undertaker, he's got this little subliminally being reminded
Right, there's
of
like
it.
a muscle memory, but still,
Right.
he's not doing it right in George's face.
But does that matter to George?
No.
Not one little bit. So back home, it looks like George is moving out on a more permanent basis. George hates being like this and hanging out on his own at his place until Sean dumps Frank, or vice versa.
Why doesn't Eileen just move into George's? He's got that massive house.
Well, it's Eileen's house.
Right, but still, wouldn't she be happier in this massive house and just collecting rent from the others?
It's like Sean, well, Mary, I guess, maybe. Good. How many people?
Todd,
Oh, no.
Todd lives there.
Let's not have the how many people are living in that house conversation again.
Too many.
Yeah, I quite like this story. I think it's, I think like you said, I think it feels authentic.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I think George, who has grown up to be this nice, lovable, lovable guy, that learning about this side of him when he was at school, because if he was the son of an undertaker, you have to be pretty sharp to be able to dodge that, or you have to be able to turn it around into something that's
Right.
that's funny, or
Yeah.
at somebody else's expense.
It's also just kind of funny to think of him being bullied because he's so huge.
Like he could like
In a nice
destroy,
way.
he could destroy Frank.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, and it
What-
makes you wonder what they were like as children.
Yeah,
You know, I mean, he is a giant's brother.
which is true.
Is this true?
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm just happy to have a George and Eileen storyline where they're not breaking up.
well, not yet. He has moved out though.
Well, yeah, but he
Let's
wasn't
not ignore
actually
that.
moved in. He wasn't technically moved in. He's got a big, massive house.
He does. I wonder if this is going to become a storyline where Sean has to decide what he wants. If he wants a relationship with somebody who is causing his friends so much.
Oh, come on. It's Sean. He doesn't fucking care as long as he's getting laid.
Yeah,
I think
I
he's
was joking about.
I think he's more concerned about the fact that his friends think that Frank is not his type because he's older and he wears an anorak.
Yeah, he doesn't wear shirts with peacock feathers on them.
Right.
Maybe that's not a bad thing.
I'm trying. Have we seen very many people that Sean has dated?
He talks a good game.
Right. He talks about them, but we never see them.
We haven't seen really anything for a very long time. I don't think since we've been doing this that Sean's been in a relationship.
No. I think, didn't he?
I think homeless Carol was probably his closest friend, and look how he treated her.
Yeah.
Let's move on.
Yes.
The next storyline is cooking up a storyline. On Monday, David is ready to run Max into school, but Max turns it down because he's meeting Chris at the bus stop. But Shonakan, she
Listen.
smells eau de toilet on him, so reckons this is about a girl.
The toilet.
Max is chatting to a girl in a horrible jacket and offers to help her with her homework. His male friends tell him to go for it. He could totally tap that, one of them says. And he goes, tap that, as if that's not something that he would say.
Right. Well, it's something that he would say if he was in a 1996 romantic comedy starring
Uh-oh. Helen's riffing.
Owen Wilson and
Wow.
and Vince Vaughn.
Buddy. Does that a lot, doesn't he?
He does that in the one movie, or like
Then that counts.
he makes like kissy noises at the woman at the booth in Swingers that he thinks is attracted to her, and she's actually talking to a baby.
Didn't see that.
You didn't see Swingers?
I don't think so. I don't really like Vince Vaughn. Back home, Max is chatting with Chris on Messenger when he starts to get flirty messages from somebody called Sonia, which is too close to Shona, who has learned that Max fancies her from this Chris bloke.
Ooh.
The chat goes well until Sonia asks him to ask her out, and he refuses, so she asks him out, but she warns him to keep it quiet because her ex is massive and jealous, and massively jealous.
Right. It's The Undertaker.
That's what I'm thinking. Now, we had a thought that maybe Max was gay.
Yeah, we were really hoping for that.
And at this point,
Because I guess we have Nina and Asha. I guess we never see them together.
no,
We don't have any indication that they are still in a relationship together.
I'm not even sure they'll like each other.
I mean, Nina's barely in the show, except
Yeah, she's getting a little break time.
yeah, she's like once or twice.
Because every time we see her now, you get a surprise that her hair's blonde at the front.
Right. Yeah, she's going through her Billie Eilish phase.
Very much so.
Yes, which is not a bad thing. But it would be nice to show that the Gen Z crowd on the show have some gayness going on. I still really want a non-binary and a trans and an ace character on the show. Not all three all together, obviously. 3 separate characters. A trans character.
A new family comes on this
A non-binary character and an ace character. We don't have enough ace representation on television.
Ace. The hardware store?
The asexuals.
Oh, because we've got that on Emmerdale.
Do they? Oh, well, kudos to Emmerdale, because besides that, I think it's just Todd on BoJack Horseman, who is a cartoon character as far as ace representation on television is concerned. Voiced by what's his name from the show with the meth. The Breaking of the Bad.
I'm not having this conversation with you. No, there was a point up until the message where you weren't sure who was messaging, because Chris is a kind of asexual name. And
Well, an ambiguous name.
right, an ambiguous name. Is this the Chris? Is Chris the
Right.
It seemed that they were playing it kind of both ways for a
Right.
while, and then it
No,
doesn't
it's
seem that they
obvious.
are.
Yeah, well, we obviously saw him be interested in that girl that his friends think he can tap
Yes, he can tap that.
because he's Vince Vaughn all of a sudden in Swingers.
On Wednesday, there has been yet another burst pipe at school, which means Max is home early. He asks David for some money so he can buy ingredients for a surprise tea for him and Shona.
Ooh,
Max is cooking in Gail's Wonder Woman apron
I love that.
and throws David and Shona out when they come in too early. And later, Max's dinner, I think it's paella that he's made, has gone down a storm, and he's looking forward to making it the next time, but not for David and Shona.
Nope.
Max reveals his interest is in the girl, and David and Shona quiz him about whether there's an X on the scene or something like that, and he confirms that there is. So I'm kind of worried, obviously, now that
Right, yeah.
this X is going to have
the shit
an
out of
issue with
Max.
this, right?
Which would not necessarily be a bad thing.
On Friday, the storyline takes a little swerve, and Shona has decided that she's on a duvet week, which means that she walks around the house wrapped in a duvet.
With flamingos on it.
David has taken the day off too, and the two of them head back to bed. Kelly's at the barber, but there's no one there to open up because Maria's not there either.
Right.
I'm thinking, really, this is the storyline? There's been holiday confusion?
Apparently.
Apparently so. Shona and David's duvet day takes them to speed dial, but they've got dressed. In comes Maria, surprised to see David because she's got the day off, and the two of them argue about who was supposed to have the day off and which calendar they wrote it in properly, and Maria says it's a computer one because it's 2022, David.
Yes.
And outside the barber's, 3 people in desperate need for a haircut, and Brian pointing at his eyebrows
Yes.
are waiting, fuming. Maria has a council meeting and she tries to postpone it so she can take care of Brian's eyebrows. 3 hours later, and Maria has finished Brian's eyebrows. Back home, David complains about wasting his day off. He hires women to deal with all this shite. And Shona
Wait a
thinks...
second. Hold up. Who owns that barber shop? It's not David.
Oh, it's Maria.
Right. So who's hiring who there?
Or is it Audrey?
It's Audrey, but Audrey and Maria co-own it.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah. So who the hell is David thinking he's hiring to clean shit up? Well, how is David all of a sudden this big misogynist twat in the show?
Shona thinks her stomach/brain injury has transported her back to the 1970s.
Right, because he's such a shithead.
Go tell her. Don't whine to me about it. You're ruining my duvet week. So he
Right.
plans to have this out with Maria. And that's all that happens there. Well, that was a shitload of nothing.
Right. What an asshole.
Oh, he is an asshole. Yeah.
What a fucking asshole.
He's become quite the asshole because he was quite the asshole with the Daniel stuff. Arguably correctly.
You know,
Or at least to a point.
Yeah, he had that brief moment where he wasn't an asshole about it, where he was nice to Amy until he realized that Max was the one who drugged her, and then he turned into an asshole again. I expected to be an asshole, but a misogynist in that house with Shona and Gail?
Yeah.
And occasionally Audrey?
Sometimes Sarah.
And then,
The dog?
No, the dog's a boy. His name is David. No, the wee one, the little girl who we never see anymore.
Lily.
Lily. That's right. I wanted to say Ruby, but I knew that was wrong. Because Ruby...
Choking Lily. That was the last we saw her, I think.
Yes, a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
They're always going to pick her up, though.
Bertie's 3 now.
Who's 3?
Bertie.
Yes.
He's getting old quick.
He should be talking by now, and he never does. He's
Right.
always sleeping.
Right.
Or with Ken, who he thinks is his dad now.
So we've got a couple of bits going on here. We've got the relationship with Sonia that I presume is going to cause some friction between her ex, who is massive. And then
And jealous.
And then we've got something going on between David and Maria where
He thinks
maybe
she's
David
too high
is-
on her horse because she's a council person now.
David isn't feeling that his worth has been appreciated.
Yeah, he works for her. He needs to remember that. What a dick.
Yeah, because I've got a memory of Maria hiring him back.
Yes. Yes. So is he talking about Kelly? That he hired Kelly? Because he didn't hire Kelly either. Maria hired Kelly.
That's true.
Because it's Maria's barbershop. What the hell is going... Does nobody remember anything when they're writing the show?
Who owns the salon?
Salon's shut.
Somebody owns it though.
Yeah, Claudia.
Nope. I'm going to say who owns it. That's going to surprise you.
Is it Debbie?
It is Debbie.
It's Debbie, yeah. Because she was allowing Alina to use it to do nails
Correct.
occasionally. Yeah, where do all the women get their hair cut now? There's just a barber shop. There's no hair salon.
They go around the corner where there's probably tons of them.
It's like our town that has like 8 of them.
Oh, every town's got hundreds of hairdressers, haven't they? Right. Next up is Dwight Eisen.
Oh, God.
This was another weird one, wasn't it?
It was.
And there's a lot going on in this one. There's kind
Right. And then there's
two
this kind
storylines
of
or
branch
three
off
right.
the Brian and Cathy thing.
Yeah, I've thrown all that together because
Good.
I know that you complain when I separate these things out.
I do.
So on Monday, outside the cabin, Cathy is thinking of some ideas to zhuzh up the place rather than moving to Cornwall, which was a minor storyline from months ago.
Yes, she wants to put seating outside.
Yeah. She reckons it needs something to put a spark back into their lives. Meanwhile, Sinkhole Lee was looking for work, but there's nothing out there, and he's in no mood to let Jenny give him a rent amnesty. Through the back room, Daisy...
I think she was going to give him a job there and he wouldn't let her finish her sentence.
Oh, was that what it was?
Well, we never know, but that's kind of what I was assuming, because when he was like indicating that she was going to say something about rent, she kind of went, well, actually,
Oh.
and he still kept refusing to allow her to speak.
Yeah, he's an asshole as well. Through the back room, Daisy spots Leo's home-brew in a barrel. It's called Dwight Eisen. Leo's managed to secure an interview for tomorrow, which, coincidentally, his beer will be ready for consumption.
Is that
Now, I'm thinking...
that the proper container to brew
a big
beer
plastic
in?
barrel?
Big plastic? Because plastic can affect things and break things down and stuff. That's why, in like for forensics and stuff, they may put evidence in a plastic bag on the scene, but then immediately once they get to the police station, they put it in a cardboard box because plastic
You
can...
can't make beer in a cardboard box.
This is true.
Right then.
But I don't think... I have friends who make beer, and when
I've seen these plastic barrels before.
And when I see them with their beer, they're in like... They're not in plastic.
Well, maybe that's why it turns out shit.
Maybe.
So he's managed to secure an interview for tomorrow. Coincidentally, his beer will be ready for consumption. Now, we have a home brew story. And when we have home brew stories, tradition dictates that there has to be an explosion of some sort.
One would hope.
When somebody goes down to the cellar, there's a big explosion, and when they come back up the stairs again, their shirt is torn up to the elbows, and they've got a black face. Now, obviously, they can't do that anymore.
No.
So maybe that's why there is no explosion this time.
Well, yeah, and also I think that's the other thing about the plastic is because you're allowing too much sunlight and other things to affect.
It was in the cellar. They've just brought it up.
Right, but they've brought it up and they've probably fucked it up by bringing it up too fast.
Because they brought it up because it's ready for consumption tomorrow.
Right, so wait until tomorrow to bring it up.
Later,
Jenny.
but then Daisy won't see it.
And make crass comments about it.
Later, Jenny's making something crafty at the bar when Sinkhole Leo comes in and she quickly covers it up. He says he's popping out, so he puts his penis back in his trousers and then goes outside. Later, I forgot that I wrote that. That made me chuckle. Later, Brian is having dinner on his own while Jenny argues with Newton and Ridley on the phone about a milk stout guest ale. Brian comes across as a bit of an aficionado, so Jenny ropes him into her plan. And later, Jenny and Brian reveal to Sinkhole Leo that his homebrew will be on tap tomorrow as a surprise. Leo is so made up at this, his penis falls out of his trousers again.
Yes, and the thing that Jenny has made for this beer, named after a famously bald president who didn't wear hats very often.
She's thinking of Roosevelt. That's Roosevelt's hat.
Well, she's not thinking of it. The set designers are thinking of Roosevelt, of Theodore Roosevelt. Yeah. Yes, not Franklin D. But still, I'm looking at it and I'm like, if you were going to put a hat on something named after Eisenhower, wouldn't it be like, he was a famous general, so put like a military cap on him or something. Not a brown cowboy hat that actually kind of looks like maybe a sombrero.
I thought it looked like a pith helmet. That's what it looked like to me.
It had the little indent, didn't it?
Well,
yeah.
Anyway,
it did not look like something named after Eisenhower.
On Wednesday.
Is my complaint as an American.
Noted. Cathy and Brian are chatting about lasagna outside the cabin. Brian has plans for tonight and tells her that he's taking her out for date night. And she's very excited about this.
Yeah. He's like, oh, why would I make food for you when we're going to go on a date night? A date night that ends up not having anything to do with food, but that's all right.
Daisy decides to try Leo's homebrew before hooking it up to the pumps, and she and Jenny are in 100% agreement.
It's in a teapot.
It tastes like ass. Leo comes in briefly excited about his upcoming interview. It's Leo's intention to take some of his beer along to the interview to let the interviewers try it. So Jenny and Daisy have to look at him like he's a buffoon
because
and explain why that isn't a good idea.
And it's really not.
Even supposing it was good.
Even if it tasted good, it would be a bad idea.
At the Rovers, we learn that Brian's idea of a night out with Cathy is a night in the Rovers testing Leo's beer.
Right, and not having any food at all.
It turns out that it's illegal to sell homebrew in a pub like that, so it's all on the down low now, apparently. It's good that Corrie has such forensic attention to detail. Meanwhile, Leo's interview has gone well, not that anyone gives a fuck.
No.
Later, Brian comes in with Cathy, who is visibly pissed off when she learns that this is their date and not just pre-date drinks. Daisy pours the pints, which impresses Brian very much. Leo wasn't expecting that taste either, but is pleasantly surprised, and Brian thinks it's good enough for Leo to pursue brewing professionally. But it's actually Newton and Ridley's because Daisy's swapped the pipes over. Did you swap the pipes, says Jenny? Of course I did.
Yes.
Now Leo is thinking he's going to knock back the job offer and make beer full time, so Jenny needs to have a word. So Cathy has gone home and changed back into regular clothes when Leo comes in from the back after speaking with Jenny, and he tries his own beer, storms off in a huff, and he seems to be blaming Jenny for this a little bit. He seems angry, and he seems angry with Jenny.
Well, he's angry with her for lying to him, and I think he's angry that his beer tastes like shit. He can't blame her for that, though.
I thought so.
Except, of course, that she brought the plastic tub up
let it go. On Friday, Brian is polishing his head, checking Cornwall temperatures. Cathy is still pissed about yesterday and wishes that he'd drop it. He heads out in a mood to get his eyebrows hacked. At the Rovers, Cathy is complaining to Evelyn and Rita about Brian not giving up about Cornwall. Cathy needs something new around here to spice things up, though, and they all become interested in Daisy's new cocktail class.
Right, which she points out to them.
But then tries to talk them out of it because they're old.
Yeah, it's like she wanted Cathy to go, but not Rita and Evelyn.
Right.
It's money, Daisy.
It doesn't matter.
It's money.
There, right? So Cathy gets back to the cabin, doesn't mention his trimmed eyebrows, and has agreed to think again about Cornwall. Brian rushes off for a meeting and leaves his man bag, which allows her to dig around in it and find a letter that she reads and then looks a little distressed about.
Yes.
And that's as far as we get with that. I wonder what's in the letter.
Has he bought this place in Cornwall? Has he made an offer on this place in Cornwall?
Well, that would be all right because she's agreed to think about it again.
Right, to think about it. But
Oh,
if
just
he's
think
already
about
gone, if he's already gone and done it
Right.
behind her back before she even said,
Now, Brian is impetuous,
yes,
but she knew that about him.
right. And also, this is the Cornwall conversation started, what, 6 months ago?
I thought it ended 6 months ago. This is still a thing.
Does this mean that Brian is leaving the show as well?
I don't know. We've kind of spoiled this already for folk that it looks like Cathy's leaving.
Right.
But I don't
Is
know
she taking Brian with her?
I wasn't under the impression that Brian was going too.
Right, yeah.
I feel terrible talking about this.
Which is weird because you would think that they would, something really bad has to happen to break them up.
I'm amazed that they're still together.
Right, that's why I say something really bad has to happen to break them up.
I don't think they should have lasted this long. Because Brian.
Well, who else is Brian going to date? Mary? That actually might work.
He's too pompous. And he's too buffoonish.
Yeah. I don't know. It's kind of
Is it Ken that he needs to be with? Maybe.
I'm surprised that they aren't more friends. The two of them, Ken and Brian. Because they are basically the same person. Only one has a bigger head.
Right. No prizes for guessing which one.
It's Ken. Because he's the bigger egotist.
Oh, and the classic Corrie today, Ken said, "What?
Do you know what I learned today?
What did you learn today?"
I learned today that at one point, John Lennon was at the Geneva studios to record like a video of one of the Beatles songs, and he used the harmonium from Coronation Street.
Oh, did they really?
In that video.
Wow. What's a harmonium?
It's the cube. It's kind of like a piano, only like a smaller piano with a more tangy, tinkly sound. That lady from Old Coronation Street who had the thing on her head had one.
Lady from Coronation Street had the thing.
The
on
one
her
who
head.
had like the stocking on her head and looked grumpy all the time.
The stocking on her head.
And looked
Like
grumpy
she
all
was
the
a
time.
bank robber? Are you talking about Ina Sharples?
Maybe.
Or are you talking about
Like really old Corrie.
Bridget Humferton?
The show had only been on for like 5 years at the time
Could be.
that this happened. You know, the stout woman who looks grumpy all the time and is wearing a penny and the thing on her head.
Penny. Hilda.
A pinafore, you know?
Not Hilda. She wasn't stout.
No. And looked grumpy all the time. She's in the very first episode.
This live version of Guess Who. I don't imagine.
Anyway, it's always fascinating when like a bit of Coronation Street trivia pops up in like a documentary that I'm watching about something else completely different.
Talking of something else completely different, our next storyline is Milky Caramel. On Friday, in Nina Rolls, Phil and Fizz are talking marriage arrangements and house renovations. Fizz is worried about a crack in the bedroom ceiling, and Bernie thinks this is how sinkholes start, which gets Fizz even more frantic. So Phil is ordered to go off and check it out, and while he's on his way, post these wedding invites while you're at it.
Right. On the way there, Phil. Not take them with you into the house and leave them somewhere in the house.
So, presumably, Phil's been using his Find My Friends again because he manages to track Fizz down to the cabin, but when Phil comes into the cabin, he's covered in spunk. He's been
Him and Tyrone have been wrestling again.
He's been wanking off horses again. And also, the crack in the ceiling is significant, and he's made a big hole.
Happy Pride.
He reckons he can fix it, but the house is a mess, and all the invites have also been covered in horse spunk. At the factory, Fizz hands out all her spunky invites. And I think that's the last time I say spunk.
Sean is quite excited about this.
This is the next line. Well done. Actually, the next line is Beth and Sean are still impressed by this. Especially Sean.
Beth says it's
Happy
a
Pride.
nice. Beth says it's a nice color.
The taste leaves a bit to be desired, but Fizz is looking for a place to stay to sort out the wedding stuff in peace and away from the building site, but Sean and Beth suddenly develop coughs and claim to be very busy with work.
Right. And Peanut is very territorial about her room, apparently.
Evelyn brings Fizz back. Imagine having space in your house that the room belongs to an animal that isn't Sean. Evelyn brings Fizz back to Tyrone's and gets the posh biscuits out. Evelyn is clearly pissed here. Everyone is brought up to speed with the situation at the fancy house, so Tyrone tells her that she can stay with him. Even Phil can stay if he wants. Fizz says it's fine, she'll find something, and Evelyn looks furious at the pair of them and demands the posh biscuits.
Yes.
And that's as far as we get with that.
Because she's pissed.
I like that one because they said Milky Caramel quite a lot.
Yes, because
was quite funny.
apparently there was a can of Milky Caramel up there in the rafters for some reason.
Yeah, when he was fixing the crack in the ceiling, it created a hole. The paint fell down, covered him and the invites. She was in buying glue
Yeah,
to make invites.
right.
Is this like 5-year-old craft invites that she's put some glitter on or something?
No, because like there was like some framing going on where there was like a bigger piece and then a different color
Oh, I don't
piece.
really care.
And
That's fine. So,
clearly I was the one who made all of the crafty stuff for our wedding.
yeah.
Like, remember those flags that I made with like
Yeah.
lines from our poetry about
So-
one another?
So,
And I made that globe.
Fizz and Tyrone
Yes.
again getting
No,
back together again?
Please don't. Please don't. Because
think
I
we've
like
s-
Phil.
I like Phil as well, and I think they had a chance to get rid of Phil, and they didn't.
Right. They've had a couple of chances to get rid of Phil.
So this feels
And they
like it's going
didn't.
to stick, but Tyrone's still...
And we really like the fact that Phil and Tyrone have this great relationship too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they should be together.
They should.
There was something in Evelyn's face, though, when the two of them were talking, and Fizz says it's fine, and Tyrone says it's fine, the offer still stands, and I don't know if Evelyn was just pissed off that she was still waiting on her biscuits, or if she was annoyed that
seemed
the two
like
of them
she was
weren't
trying-
saying the things that they're supposed to be saying to each other.
It seemed like she was trying to manufacture something
That's
there.
what I thought.
But because she was drunk more than anything. Because when she's not drunk, she's telling Tyrone not to mess this up for Fizz. So it's
Right.
sober Evelyn would never do this. It's just because, you know, they got Daisy ashamed for not saying old.
Yeah.
So she was giving them free booze.
I have a feeling that the Fizz and Tyrone thing is going to raise its head at least one more time
God,
before
I
it gets
hope not.
settled. Our final storyline this morning today is
Saving-
Imran's baby.
Potato chips.
Imran's dead baby. On Monday.
And Imran's dead, comma, baby.
Yeah.
Imran's baby is not dead.
No, not yet. On Monday, at home, Toyah is still coming to terms with the events of last week with Leanne when Syra. Is it Syra? Is that how you say it?
I don't know. It's
I think
just,
it's Syra. When Syra buzzes the flat and Toyah quickly reveals that she hasn't told her yet. So Syra comes up, learns that Toyah was in the crash too and that Alfie is her grandson, although Toyah lets her know that...
Toyah lets her think
thinks
that it's her baby.
Right. Syra apologises for her appalling behaviour in the past, but she's ready to take over Imran's funeral, thanks. Despite Imran not being a practising Muslim, Toyah is happy to let this happen. In dinner's roles, Sarah and Adam meet up with Toyah and Leanne. Toyah asks Adam to phone around Imran's clients about his upcoming funeral, and then Adam remembers Imran's views on Islam from Rana's funeral, but Toyah snaps that the man is dead and he needs to be buried, and she can't be bothered doing that herself.
Right. Yeah. Adam seems to have had a shave as well as Charlie. Adam's
well-
clean shaven, sort of.
At points this week, he seems to
I
be
was
shaven.
really confused by Adam's face. I kept looking at it saying there's something wrong here.
Next we see Sarah, she's on the street shouting at Zeedan because it seems that everything, Imran's death, Rana's death, any number of situations in the Middle East,
Climate change,
they're all Zeedan's fault.
homophobia.
Gary pops out of nowhere because someone's mentioned Rana. As Toyah tries to calm the situation, Abby spots a chance to troll everyone by going to take Alfie away from all this feuding and the fussing. And when Sarah wonders, just who the fuck is this character, she introduces herself as Alfie's mum.
Yes.
Oh yeah, about that, says Toyah. So Abby claims to be sorry for everyone's loss, but then gleefully announces that she's been in contact with the social, so don't go buying any more of those non-disposable nappies from that wee artisan shop just yet. Sarah must be brought up to speed to some extent, and Leanne helpfully points out that Imran wouldn't want a religious funeral. Sarah asks Toyah if she still loved Imran despite everything, and Toyah says that she does. In that case, you can arrange the funeral. So later, Toyah is able to tell Adam about the snafu regarding Imran's funeral arrangements. I'm sensing another Robert situation here. When the cops arrive and DS Blondie arrests Toyah for causing death by dangerous driving, they have new information, probably from Kelly. Back at the flat, Leanne is looking after Alfie when the social drop in to confiscate Alfie because she's not a parent and they have to take him away to some other people who also aren't his parents. Leanne refuses to comply until the social worker threatens the cops.
And there's this thing where it's like that Toyah doesn't have parental responsibility either. When a court has already given Toyah parental responsibility over this child and custody over this child.
Well, to Imran.
And Toyah.
I don't know if Toyah's name would be mentioned in that, would you?
The judge said Imran and Toyah get the baby. Both of them. Together. And it was in part because Imran's the dad, but the
in
court,
part or not wholly?
It's clearly, if I died, social services wouldn't be on the doorstep to take the kids away from you.
No, but they're not babies.
That's true. They're older, so they're more mature and capable of dealing with
But
the
if they
trauma
were babies,
of being.
then maybe they'd go straight back to your ex-husband.
Maybe.
I think definitely. And I think that would be the right thing to happen.
Maybe. I'll have to think about that.
Helen really means definitely, but she doesn't want to say so. So
Still, the fact that that social services are so on the board here.
well, that's thanks to Abby, isn't it?
I don't think so. I
Because basically what they're saying is that Alfie can't be in Leanne's care for a couple of hours while Toyah sorts this out at the police station.
well, and also that Toyah can't have him either.
But that means that Toyah now can't not be in the presence of Alfie. She can't ask someone to babysit for half an hour while she goes to the shops.
No. The social services is there to take the baby away from Toyah. It's just coincidence that Leanne is there.
I see.
This isn't because, and this is the part that bothers me, is because Toyah was also given parental responsibility.
Oh, I thought they were
In
there
the
because
courts.
she'd been arrested.
No, because remember, Toyah was already, when she was still in the hospital, she said, Alfie's going to be taken away from me because
Got it.
Imran's dead.
Got it.
Yeah.
At the cop shop, Adam tells Toyah that there's CCTV footage of the crash that they want to show Toyah. It's from Crash Bang Wallop. What a video. So they watch the video and it becomes clear that Toyah didn't turn or slam on the brakes or anything. She just looks like she deliberately drove into the wall.
Right.
Toyah is shocked and upset, and Adam demands a break. A different kind of break, mind you. After the break, a different kind of break, mind you. DS Blondie wants to know what happened with the crash. Toyah insists that she loved Imran and she doesn't remember what was going on in the car. So,
Well, there's a voiceover in her head saying, I hate you, Imran. I think she was trying to kill herself more than Imran. I think it was more murder-suicide than... an attempted murder-suicide than...
That's not a very good way to kill yourself, though, in a
murder.
in a slow accident into a wall in a car that has airbags. I
Well,
think you're
I'm not
designed.
saying
I think you're designed to survive that, aren't you?
It doesn't... she was driving fast for the area, I think.
Yeah, like 35 miles an hour, maybe.
Right, and if Imran hadn't woken up, they would have both been dead.
See, I think he caused that by opening the door. If he'd just left it, I think that would
No,
have been
because
fine.
things were already falling.
Yeah, not very much. Anyway, Toyah gets out and meets up with Leanne and Nick at the bistro, and she quickly assumes that the social have taken Alfie away to live with strangers. Toyah has been charged, which royally fucks up her chances to adopt Elsie. Adam promises to speak with Elliot to see what can be done. Toyah just wants to disappear to Cousin Kirsty's. Nick and Leanne think this is a dreadful idea. It'll give the cops and the entire street the wrong message. At the law office, Adam sacks Ben over the phone, nice one, and explains the events of the day to Sarah. He's having trouble coming to terms with Imran's death, and apparently he had a meeting to change Imran's will. Sarah is sure that it's Alfie related, but Adam thinks the timing is weird. But Toyah has ignored the advice from Nick and Leanne and leaves the street in the back of her
How is the
black
timing
taxi.
weird?
I know.
Because Imran wouldn't have known that he was going to die in a car crash.
But is it weird that you're going to change your will like the day before you actually die?
He couldn't have known he was going to die the next day. He just had a baby.
I don't
All
know.
of these people telling Adam that this isn't weird.
This sounds like every episode of Columbo. Cousin Kirsty.
Anyway, Cousin Kirsty. Alan.
So Toyah has
Ali.
ignored the advice of Nick and Leanne and leaves the street in the back of a black taxi. Cousin Kirsty's, please, cabby. Nay bother hen, says the inexplicably Scottish driver.
And he takes her straight to Cheers.
On Wednesday. No.
Drives that black taxi all the way across the Atlantic Ocean
No.
and into Boston Harbor.
No. On Wednesday, Leanne and Nick are worried because Toyah never made it to Cousin Kirsty's. Leanne ends up having a set to with Bernie about a sympathetic lasagna for Toyah, and then Adam's curiosity is aroused when Leanne tells her Toyah's done a bunk. This is all very suspicious. Adam goes to speak with Peter over a speed dial breakfast. Adam's still worried about Imran's will. Peter does think that Toyah's a bit weird with babies, but she's
Well,
not.
yes.
But she's not a drive into a wall person. Except that she did, says Adam, and he questions whether Toyah did it deliberately. And this is overheard by Zeedan, who immediately gets on the phone to Alia about it. Mm-hmm. So Alia comes round and Zeedan brings her up to speed. Alia just can't believe that Toyah would do this deliberately. Zeedan seems keen to prove that it was, so that Syra will stop blaming him. Zeedan is a gossipy wee shite.
He is a gossipy wee shite. And also, how would this stop Syra from blaming him when Toyah being baby crazy didn't cause Rana to move into the Coronation Street family?
So Alia goes into the bistro to look for Toyah and check with Leanne. Alia wants to hear her side of the story for some reason. She tells Leanne about Zeedan overhearing Adam talking, and Leanne has had enough and throws Alia out. Leanne goes to shout at Adam for a bit about gossiping to Zeedan. Adam says he's just establishing facts, but Leanne doesn't think that's his job, and Toyah doesn't need people talking about her behind her back.
Yeah, she calls him PC
plod.
Plod.
Adam says Peter agrees that Toyah got a bit baby crazy every now and again, so Leanne storms off to shout at Peter for a bit. Yeah. And Peter denies playing games, but explains about Adam having a beanie's bonnet about Imran's changed will. He's not their enemy, although maybe he did mention the crazy baby stuff.
Right, yeah. And he also establishes that Leanne didn't know anything about the will.
Right. Peter still has lingering resentment about the Susie thing. Toyah lied to them both back then. It makes sense that Toyah was in a state after the Alfie and the Abby thing. It was a powder keg, says Peter. Maybe she didn't crash deliberately, but maybe she shouldn't have been driving in the first place.
Yeah.
Back at the bistro, Nick thinks if Adam phones Toyah, she would answer, what with him being her solicitor. But Leanne doesn't even know if Adam is representing her, but doesn't tell Nick the extent of who she's been shouting at today.
Right.
Until closing time, when she finally explains that what with everything going on with Alfie and Abby and Imran and Elsie, she's starting to have her doubts about Toyah as well, especially with this historic baby craziness. How can Leanne help if she doesn't know where Toyah is? And then we see that Toyah is pulling a page from Leanne's playbook,
right,
following their traumatic event, and is hiding in secret at her own place.
Right. Sisters.
Well, she said it, and she says on Friday,
right.
Look, it was a good idea.
Right, yes. Yeah, she's like, I took a cue out of Leanne's playbook.
She says exactly what I said.
That's exactly it.
So on Friday, Simon...
And then she says, my dogs are tired.
So on Friday, Simon is still trying like a bear with Kelly and to get into her good pants. He reveals to her that Toyah has disappeared, and according to Leanne, she isn't even that Cousin Kirsty's. That's so difficult to say. And then George is very keen to get moving on the funeral, so Leanne tells him in the absence of Toyah just to use his best judgment. Well, that could mean anything.
Right.
Then Kelly appears, apologises to Leanne for being a total grass, and asks if she can attend the funeral. And she also asks for a key to the flat so she can steal a photo, but Leanne tells her to fuck off.
Well, she tells her that she doesn't have a key.
At the law office, Kelly comes in to ask about a key for Toyah's flat from Adam, and Adam has a spare in Imran's desk. The two of them chat about Toyah being AWOL, Kelly grassing up Toyah's unknown whereabouts. In Nina's roles, Adam tells Sarah what he learned from Kelly, which has made him even more convinced that Toyah deliberately killed Imran. Imran was going to stop Toyah from going to the cops, and Toyah said that she'd kill Imran if he lied to her again.
Right.
So with the key from Imran, Kelly goes into Toyah's flat and finds Toyah.
Right. And Toya's like, what are you doing here?
Right.
And Kelly says, what are you doing here?
Toyah explains that
And they all laugh.
she was just copying Leanne from the Oliver stuff.
Right.
Kelly apologises for being a despicable grass, and Toyah tells her that she did the right thing. Kelly tells her to grow a nice set of hairy balls and show the street what she's made of. She has people on her side, like her, she says. So Toyah goes to the bistro and apologises for disappearing like Leanne did that time Oliver died. The funeral is still on for Monday though. And later, Kelly bumps into Adam on the street and wastes no time in telling him about Toyah actually just been hiding in their house. So Leanne and Toyah finally go back to her place. The Elsie adoption is definitely off. Toyah apologises for hiding again, but she reckons that everyone thinks that she killed Imran deliberately. Meanwhile, Adam has gone to the police to tell DS Blondie about Toyah threatening to kill Imran if she found out that he was lying to her. And even DS Blondie thinks that this is hyperbole.
Right,
but
yeah.
as far as Adam's concerned, it's premeditation. She wanted him dead. And that is how we end this week's episodes. What is Adam doing here?
Well, he shaved his beard, so all his power is gone.
Well, he's developed some alternate power, and it's a power of evil. What do you think's going on in the car? Do you think that, well, you've kind of said that maybe...
Yeah, I think it's a murder-suicide attempt. You know, that she's so angry and she's realizing that she's going to lose everything again, that she just... There's nothing left for me on this earth. Puts her foot on the gas and just plows in.
So
Not really thinking, you know, that she could potentially survive it.
A moment of madness. The red mist descends.
Right.
She's not in control of her actions.
Right.
So it's not really premeditated.
No,
Or is it?
I don't think it is. I'm just glad that this firmly establishes that there wasn't another car. That Ben wasn't in another car
Oh, God,
plowing
right.
them into a... Because that was a
'Cause
ridiculous theory.
People saw a car that
Right,
just
that
drove by
stopped.
slowly.
That kind of
Stopped.
stopped like it was going to turn in and then it doesn't. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's because they see a car crashed and the cops, so of course they're not going to turn in.
Right. Well, the cops aren't there.
No, but they,
Stop.
yeah. Yeah.
Well, in that case, then she does deserve everything that's coming to her then, our Toyah.
Which makes me sad. Did you read that article saying what's happened to Coronation Street's women? How, you know, what happened to the strong women of Coronation Street?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah. It's not wrong.
What was that in?
You know, God, I can't remember. I'll find it and I'll send it to you. But I mean, this has been kind of my complaint about Abby. You know, it's like she's strong and she's everyone's hero until they need her to be a basket case again.
Yep.
And then she's a basket case for a while and then she's everyone's hero again. And also we have like the girls constantly going through these phases of everything getting dumped on them and them going hysterical and losing their mind and everything.
See, I kind of worry that the Abby situation is kind of over for me. That I can't do this cycle again of it. I just don't like Abby anymore.
Right. It is kind of unfortunate that all of this happening has made it so Abby will eventually get Alfie and she's back together with Kev, you know, so she really loses nothing. Whereas, and Toyah points this out this week, that really the situation was kind of ideal where Alfie has had 3 parents
Yep.
who loved him very much and they were working things out.
Yeah, potentially going to get 4 parents if Kev was going to get back on board again.
Right, yeah. And they were going to work things out. And now he's living with strangers. Mm-hmm. I'm surprised that Imran's mum didn't try.
Yeah, that was an interesting little development, wasn't it? Because she came in and she was doing exactly the Rana thing again. She
Right.
was, my daughter needs to be buried and it needs to be a Muslim funeral, and
Right.
despite the fact that Rana wasn't practicing and had no
Right.
interest in it, this is what's going to happen, and she's kind of taken over and she started to do the same thing again
Right.
here for the same reasons,
Right.
and getting knocked back for the same reasons again, but seemed to realise it and wind herself in and go and shout at Zeedan for a while.
Right. But, you know, I don't know if it's the same over there. I would assume it's the same over there. But when it comes to child services and stuff, they really want to keep children within the
A family
family.
unit, yeah.
So if there's a living grandparent there with
Yeah.
Imran's mom,
Who didn't even know that the kid existed.
right? But still, you'd think that they would call her at least, or somebody would call her, or Toyah would say, "Hey, go get this baby."
I think it was on the list of Toyah's things to do.
Right.
But
Oh, we forgot to mention the fact that Gary tried to say something to Imran's mom about how sorry he was.
he said he was sorry for her loss and she just ignored him and kept on walking.
Right, because she doesn't know who he is.
No idea. But that was then just a very quick, and then she's gone again on Monday. And
Yeah, she was in that storyline very, very briefly, whereas you would think because she's going to be there on Monday.
well, you'd hope so. I didn't know if the story needed her in amongst it more than it needed Toyah to do a runner. Because Toyah doing a runner, as the show acknowledged,
Right.
kind of been done. Although having Sarah there sticking her nose into people's business, although it's
And
kind of her
actually
business,
acting
has
very,
been
very
done
much
as well.
not like herself, because she does very quickly back down,
Right.
and she doesn't want to know anything about the complications of the relationship, whereas Abby's the one who's had this baby.
Right.
But you'd think that she would want to spend time with her grandson now that she knows that he exists, especially since both of her children are dead,
No, she just leaves and says, "Give me a call."
which is weird, which is not what a grandmother, especially a grandmother
Like,
who has been so overbearing at times in the past, would be like. It would be, you would think she would have the same reaction to Alfie that Abby does. I'm getting a second chance to have a better relationship with this child
Right.
that I missed with my dead child.
I can't believe we're complaining about this when we complain so many times when relatives don't turn up when someone dies. Here we've got her turning up when Imran dies, but she's just
But that's my
there
complaint.
for such a
My
short period of time and
complaint-
then disappeared again.
My complaint is she's not in it enough.
Well, that's what I was saying.
It's like, oh, good. The show remembered that Imran's mom still exists.
Yep.
And then does very little with her, which is ridiculous.
I'd really quite have liked ex-wife to show up as well,
Yes.
because the mother and the ex-wife together,
Ooh.
there's
do
some
you think-
fireworks.
Yeah, I wonder if she would blame her for Imran's death the way that she's blaming Zeedan for Rana's death.
What's he like, by the way, when we need to prove that it was Toyah, so I'm off the hook. What is that even? What is that even? What is that even?
Right. At least Alia is sensible in saying, look, Imran was very good to my family. He took care of he kept my gran out of prison. That is a responsible way of saying, hey, we're concerned about this because blah. Instead of Zeedan's, we need to fix this so that I don't look like a shithead.
Yeah.
You still look like a shithead, dude.
So Alia goes to shout at the woman who very nearly became her stepmom. It's a small show.
It's a very small show, and it's getting smaller all the time because they keep killing people off.
Well, is this only the second dead character this year? Last year, we 8 characters died. A couple off screen, but there was 8 deaths. Because when I made the In Memoriam, there was 8. At the moment, I think there's only 2.
Johnny and...
Well, Johnny
and-
was last year.
Was Johnny last year? Mm-hmm. That happened last year?
Yeah.
So fresh in my memory.
No, so we've had Imran and we had... Laura. Because I forget. Laura
the Chin. That's right. And we finally revealed that Rick the Chin was dead. So we had that funeral as well. I'm still mad that we get to see Rick the Chin's funeral and not Laura the Chin's funeral.
Yeah, Rick died in 2019, so that doesn't count. But we had Laura from her stomach cancer and Imran from a mystery cardiac arrest following a car crash. And I don't think there's been any off-screen ones this year.
No.
Oh, no, there was. Ted Spear.
All right. Yes. Dead Ted.
He died from a blood clot.
Right.
So
Yes.
there's been 3 deaths so far this year.
Right. Poor old Ted is dead. We had a
Ted's
Ted
dead,
die.
baby.
We had a Ted die last year too.
Gay
that was
Ted.
Gay Ted.
Yeah.
This was old Ted.
Just
Yes.
dead Ted.
There was this whole thing with Emma and Faye thinking that they'd killed him, and then we forgot about it. What are we like?
All right.
It's
that was
late,
the week
that's
that
why.
was Coronation Street, and I'm tired. I need to go to my bed. So, what was your moment of the week? See, I didn't do my 3 favourite bits this week, so I'm at a bit of a loss.
Yeah, it wasn't as good as last week.
I wasn't.
And you know, it's fair. You know, the only thing that's popping up in my head is Max in that Wonder Woman apron, and that can't be it.
No.
I did love that. That should be it. We should write, I don't know, Happy Pride on it. Because, you know, Wonder Woman is canonically bisexual.
No, thank you.
It was funny, though. And we actually got to see some sweetness in Max. We don't get any sweetness in Max. You know, the whole cooking thing.
Nah.
Is it Kelly talking Toyah around? That was kind of heartfelt. Did you get that picture?
Nah. I didn't really think that was much, was it?
No, not really.
So I think it might have been Peter and Leanne, their little conversation together, because we never really see them having a chat together all
Right.
that much.
And he diffused that rather quickly. He was able to diffuse it and then be honest with her. And I thought that was rather nice.
Yeah, and he never got angry about it. He was just...
No.
Because she storms in, where have you been hiding? I said,
Like,
I'm making
just
Ken's dinner.
hanging out in my house.
Right.
I live here.
Yeah, he was calm and he was rational and he was
Right.
saying...
He wasn't trying to punch her in the face.
He was saying truths without trying to score any points or anything.
Right, yeah.
And he admitted...
Very mature of him.
He admitted that he's still a little bent out of shape about the whole Susie thing, which he's
fair.
entitled to do.
That is totally fair. Yeah.
Is that it?
Yeah, that's it.
Excellent.
Oh, God.
Whew.
That was tough.
Peter's little heart-to-heart with Leanne is our
Moment of the week.
boring moment of the week.
Brian checking the temperature in Cornwall.
Is our...
Boring moment of the week.
That was so much easier.
Funny that. All right then. Well, you've got camping to go to, and I've got sleeping to go to. So let's wrap this one up then.
Well, I'm going in the morning. I'm going right now.
Oh,
Obviously.
Sure. So next week we're going to be recording this a little bit early because you're heading off back east.
Yes, I'm driving
On
to
Friday.
Connecticut, even though gas is over $5 a gallon.
So we're going to be doing the podcast for Monday and Wednesday's episodes, and then we'll catch up again the following week, and then we're off on vacation, and God knows what we're going to be doing.
We will
At that
not be
point.
watching Coronation Street that week.
Well, who knows?
We'll be watching Coronation Street in the Grand Canyon.
Right. We might do one of our little from a hotel.
Right,
But anyway, all that's still to be figured out.
right.
So if you want to drop us a line and tell us about other dead characters that we've forgotten for this year, you can get us
Or
at...
who you want to die next.
Oh, don't. It's a long list. You can get us at thetalkofthestreet@gmail.com. We're at Corrie Podcast on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram. You can shout me and Helen a coffee by heading to ko-fi.com. That's ko-fi.com/thetalkofthestreet. Check out the clicky section of voggle.co.uk for links to our merch store and YouTube channel. And if you're so inclined, please leave a rating and a review on the iTunes or your podcast provider of choice. Thanks for making it to the end of another episode.
Thank you.
And we will be back next week with more
Talk of the Street.
The Talk of the Street.
Bye.
Cheerio.